Girls, what romantic gift by your significant other was really awesome? Maybe not romantic but incredibly thoughtful. For Christmas, my son gave his girlfriend, now fiancée, a reserved parking space in the city. He leases the space in the alley of a homeowner. She works crazy hours as a med student on rotations and would come home late at night exhausted. Then have to drive for 30 minutes to find parking. Now she is grateful to him every day when she parks her car and has a safe, short walk to her apartment. Okay. So a common misconception is that a woman only wants diamonds and stuff like that. My husband, who was never really good at showing emotions, got me a mug for my birthday. Yeah. You read right. A F-King mug. At first glance I thought it was a present of our 8-year-old. But the package said it was from my husband. So maybe he was trying to tell me how broke we are again. That would have been sad and hilarious at the same time. But then I turned it around and saw the cutest thing written on it. I knew he would get lucky that night. It read, "You are the best sister ever." Upvoted because I am a terrible boyfriend and I need ideas. Alright OP, how bad did you FCK up and what is your gift price range? He downloaded Pokemon Red. Edited a bunch of the root files so a lot of the characters' gym leaders are actually people in my life. He also changed a lot of the dialogue. It was easily the most memorable and thoughtful gift. So awesome. I have a few. Close bracket. We started out long distance and were both busy with work. So for Valentine's Day one year I asked for just a day with him. He booked us a day in a spa. No phones. No books. Just us. He secretly started learning sign language for me. He also got me a personalized Alice in Wonderland book where all the names were changed to my family. He got me a heart-shaped keyring with an inscription on it. And for Christmas last year he took me on a surprise trip to Venice for a weekend and proposed on a gondola with a message in a bottle and in sign language. I'm a dude. But I have to share this. I'm a huge dinosaur fan. The kind that can quote practically all of Jurassic Park. The raptors are my favorite carnivore. For my birthday last year, my girlfriend took me to the Museum of Natural History in DC to see the dinosaurs. I'd never been there before. So I was already grinning from ear to ear. She stops, takes me aside, and gives me a present to open. I open it up, and it's a fossil. She tells me it's a tooth from the Dromaeosauridae family. She stumbled through the name. And that they couldn't identify which species because it was missing the root. So she got it cheaply. I cried. Literally. The best present I have ever gotten ever. I have to keep her forever now. Question number 2. What cheap gift from your so was really awesome? I used to battle with depression a lot. One Christmas I got a jar filled with little notes from my boyfriend at the time. All notes said things like "You're beautiful. I'm so glad I met you. You're my everything" and things like that. It was one of the sweetest things I've ever gotten. Edit. Oh wow. My highest ranked comment is just me riding on something my ex did. Edit 2. Realized I worded it wrong. Should be boyfriend at the time. Not current boyfriend. I meant current then. I used to be obsessed with Dexter. Let's pretend those last few seasons didn't happen. My then so made me a blood slide box like the one Dexter kept for all his victims. He put a bunch of slides in with room for more if I wanted to add some later. And on the slides were pictures of our shenanigans. It was incredibly sweet. And I was so impressed when he gave it to me. Kind of morbid. But it really showed how much effort and thought he put into making me happy. He bought a plain white mug. Then painted it with me. He even painted his bottom lip red and pressed it onto the cup so that whenever I have a sip of coffee, it's like I'm giving him kisses. Edit. He washed the paint off right away, guys. He's fine, but as others have said, be careful of which paints you're putting in your mouth. Capital P. A crate of one of my favorite beers, which I told him had been discontinued. He was very proud of himself for finding it. And I had to explain that it had only been discontinued on tap. but I was still very happy with 24 bottles of it. Close bracket. One year we couldn't spend my birthday together, so he sent me a care package. Inside was an instruction booklet titled Romantic Birthday Dinner, and beneath it were all the ingredients so I could cook it myself. Ingredients: bread, jelly, peanut butter. The killer for me was the instruction manual. It was overly detailed and technical. He used the word emulsification like twice, with step-by-step picture guides. I was laughing so hard I was in tears. He literally bought me a PBJ for my birthday, and it's the best gift I've ever gotten. So, I'm from the street, Louis area, and we don't have the Rainforest Cafe there. It was always someplace I dreamed of going as a kid. But my parents were always like, we're not paying to eat overpriced chicken nuggets in the dark with animatronic animals. Whatever. Fast forward to when I'm an adult and dating this guy for 2+ years. We're in Chicago for my birthday and he surprises me by taking me to the Rainforest Cafe to fulfill my childhood dream. When we sit down, he pulls out 2 safari hats, puts one on his head and hands the other to me. Then he pulls out a stuffed elephant shrew, which is one of my favorite animals. I'm holding the elephant shrew, still in shock, and my stoic, no nonsense engineer boyfriend is sitting nonchalantly across from me wearing a safari hat. No idea where he found a stuffed elephant shrew. The whole thing was such a sweet, goofy gesture, especially for him. I teared up. Books. My boyfriend and I are both sci-fi nerds. He has dyslexia and does not read well. I have over 300 books and love to read, so he gets me sci-fi books and we snuggle as I read them to him. It's super nerdy, but it fits us. The best gifts are tailored to activities both of you enjoy. They bring you closer to each other and can be enjoyed over and over again. Not a girl, but I pride myself on doing my best at giving presents. At this point it might sound cliche, but something that holds sentimental value is going to win over something really expensive but meaningless every time. For example, and I had a small inside joke. That space was our thing. So for Valentine's Day I got her a necklace with a small piece of meteorite on it, and in the box there was a handwritten note with facts about space on one side, with silly little drawings and songs that made me think of her on the other. She says to this day it's the most thoughtful present she's gotten, which is always nice to hear. Good luck, dude. My first comment, and I get to brag about my it's the little things, not necessarily always the gift itself, that has the biggest impact. Once, for no special occasion, he made 2 dozen origami flowers that he put chocolate candies inside the flowers. Who doesn't love flowers and chocolate? But it was the fact he took the time to go buy the materials, then sit there and craft 2 dozen paper flowers. For my birthday one year he bought a machine to inflate balloons, then proceeded to fill our bedroom with over 1,000 balloons. Seriously floored a damn near ceiling with balloons. Then hid my presents in the chaos, and when I got home from work I was overwhelmed at the time he spent doing that. Cats did not appreciate it so much, and we slept on the couch for a month until we decided to finally have a balloon genocide and reclaim our bedroom. But it is definitely a memory I will never forget and always makes me smile thinking about it. I'll try to find a photo to show you all the absurdity of the situation. Close bracket. http imgur.com/cuuhmb jpg edit added photo. Sorry, I posted it to various comments before figuring out how to attach it to my own comment. Stroke. Gifts out of the blue are the best. Simple things like buying her favorite chocolates, cleaning up, cooking her favorite food, or foot massages. A gift that stands out for me was small amber with insects in them and a handmade card. Shows he knows me, gets me, and loves me. I knit my girlfriend a scarf, and let's just say the gift went over really well. It was super easy and relatively cheap. I had no prior knowledge of knitting crafts in general. I just YouTubed tutorials. Listen to her. If she says she likes Harry Potter, get her something Harry Potter related. If she's having a bad day, Buy her chocolate or flowers. If she really loves you, she won't expect you to empty your pockets for her. It's the small, random gestures that mean the most. If you see something that reminds you of her, buy it. My husband and I were at a friend's destination wedding in the mountains a few years ago, and we got into an argument after the rehearsal dinner. Seeing as I was the maid of honor with a wedding to control the next day, and it was like 1 AM. I left him outside to smoke a cigar and went to bed. Next thing I know, at 3 AM and he's in my ear telling me to look up. I roll over. The room is pitch black save for the dozens of fireflies. He knew I'd never seen them before, so he spent 2 hours in the dark catching them by hand, then released them in our room at the cabin next to our wedding. That was the best night of my life. We were in high school, so he didn't have much money. He commissioned an artsy classmate to illustrate a comic. I'm sure he didn't pay her much, but she was happy to make some cash doing something she liked to do. And they sat down together and came up with a great story. It was an adventure tale about my beloved cat and I. I loved it, and years later, I still have it and think fondly of him for thinking of such a creative gift. He made me a keychain with the exact coordinates of where he proposed to me. It is stamped metal, and even though it's a bit rough and slightly unfinished looking, it is one of my most charming treasured possessions. Edit. Thanks for the gold. I've never gotten it before, and it is pretty neat. Thanks again. The first time my now BF and I had sex, he literally ripped my jeans off me. He broke the zipper. He kept the jeans and covered a diary for me to use the next year in denim. It was very thoughtful, and every time I took out my diary the next year to make a note, I thought of him. He wrote a romantic story which he set out in PowerPoint form with photos of us included along the way to fit in with the story. My long distance ex mentioned once that her favorite brand of shampoo was no longer being sold. So I found some bottles online and sent them to her house with a pretty note. She said it was the most thoughtful thing she's ever gotten. FCK. I'm a good boyfriend. My boyfriend kept all of our tickets and maps and receipts from our Euro trip and made me a scrapbook with our pictures and all of the things we had collected along the way. I cried. Twice. It's silly really, but we always set a limit for Christmas what we can spend on each other, and he always goes way over. I get fake mad at him every time. Edit. Thank you for the gold, kind stranger. When I was 17, my 19-year-old boyfriend made me a teddy bear. It was the ugliest damn teddy in the world, but the fact that this tough silent guy made it was amazing. Well, I am a man, but I got my girl a gift of the skulls of my enemies. I think she enjoyed them. She may have just been pretending for my benefit, but when we drank wine out of them on ceremonial occasions later, she seemed to genuinely be filled with bloodlust and psychopathic anger. She kept a list of things on her phone that are the little things I had mentioned throughout our relationship. One of my favorites was the fresh cut grass scented candle. Not really a gift, but my so surprised me with a picnic when I thought he was working. He came to my doorstep with all my favorite foods and took me out for a picnic with him. That was by far my favorite. I was blabbering like a baby, I was so surprised. He always does thoughtful things like that. For our 10-year wedding anniversary, my husband is giving me a cute little wedding vow ceremony. I never got the wedding that I wanted. A cute little forest ceremony. I really wanted to have something small, and then we were thinking of eloping. But my mom refused and made us have our reception in the place my parents got married. It was nice, but really saying the vows was my favorite part. It was the only part I dreamed of. I wanted to stand in a sacred space and promise my love to him. It was and still is everything to me. The party afterward was just a party, so it didn't really matter. I let my mom plan it because I really wasn't into it. So for our 10-year anniversary is coming up in April. He knows I want a vacation to Denver. He knows I always wanted to go to a horse ranch place. So he's looking into seeing if we can renew our vows and get pretty photos taken, Did I mention my wedding and engagement photos sucked, and it's something I have always regretted. It hurts not having a nice photo with your spouse to look at. It would be amazing to have a little elopement wedding of my dreams. It makes it even more special for this to happen now. 10 years later. When I love him even more than the day we first said our vows. TLDR. My husband is the best man in the world and is making our 10-year anniversary very special on an upcoming Denver vacation. It all depends on the girl. When I was graduating college and moving into a new apartment, my so was trying to figure out what to get me. Had an idea and told his family. They made fun of him so much that he wasn't going to get it. Then he told me about being stressed about it, so I made him tell me what he was originally thinking. When he told me he wanted to get me a vacuum, I was so excited by the idea. I'm a practical girl and I really needed one, and he knew that. It was thoughtful and sweet. BTW. We're married now, and if he tried that gift again it wouldn't go over well, but at the time, it was the best thing ever. The most thoughtful gift I got my ex, I never got to truly give her, sadly. Her 21st gift was 2 tickets to Cirque du Soleil for us. To go along with it, I had planned to book a hotel and a table at a super fancy restaurant. The reason it was special is I'm at uni and can barely afford food every week. I saved up nearly $600 to give her the night of her life. Too bad 6 days after telling her the plan she broke my heart and dumped me. I'm still can't fathom the loss of her, as I had also planned to ask her to stay with me forever that night too. God, I wish I could have given her that night. I put so much effort into getting her something so special, and now I just sit at home crying every night. I've posted this before, but when my ex-boyfriend gave me an old dictionary as an anniversary present, I was a little confused. Little did I know, he'd highlighted every single word in the dictionary that reminded him of me. It's seriously the little, thoughtful things that make someone feel loved. We may have broken up, but it still makes me smile to this day. For my birthday, my boyfriend got each of my friends to record a video birthday message using their webcams, and edited all of them together into a compilation. This even included our friends who moved away to live in far-flung places around the world. So it was really amazing. He ended with a video clip of his own birthday wishes. We're in a long-distance relationship. As soon as I realized what it was, I cried. It cost him nothing, but it is by far my most treasured gift. My ex paid for my best friend, who I never see and speak to daily, to fly from France to Montreal and surprise me for my birthday 2 years ago. I expected to spend a night in with her, some sushi, and some sexy time. Oh boy. Sushi delivery man arrives. I open the door, and it's my best friend standing with his back to me, his girlfriend's hand in one hand, and a huge box of sushi in the other. I was dumbstruck for a solid 10 seconds. My ex was squealing with glee next to me. I don't think I ever loved her more during our relationship than at the precise moment I realized what she had done for me. I knew my best friend was broke, so I knew she'd bought him the ticket. That shit's expensive, like around $700. And we were just 2 young graduates starting out with not much in the way of salaries. She's an exceptional lady. Edit. Added the price of a Paris-Montreal ticket for clarity. My boyfriend has cerebral palsy and it affects the dexterity of his hands. Recently I visited him in Glasgow twice over the summer, and one day he picked a small bushel of lavender while we were walking in the park. I wore it in my hair the rest of the day while we had a picnic. And later in passing I mentioned that we should save it. A week or so later, I had already flown back home. And when he called me he was like, how the heck do I save this before it dies? And I said, press it. Another week later I received a care package in the mail with the framed stick of lavender pressed in it. It was beautiful, and he told me that he framed it by himself with no help, which made it even more special. It's been sitting on top of my desk ever since. Last Christmas my husband used the powers of Reddit to give me the most incredible gift I may ever receive. On Christmas morning I peeled off the wrapping paper on my present to find a little treasure box with the word home stenciled on the lid. Inside were little labeled vials with their contents varying from dirt to a tiny swatch of the first onishi each of our kids had ever worn. Basically, he took tiny pieces of all the important places and people in my life and put them in one tangible place. Most notable was one vial with water from the River of Time in Epcot and dirt from outside the dorm window where we met. My heart was ready to burst. Best gift ever. During the last recession, my now husband lost his job. I was feeling really down because our savings were all but depleted and we never got to go anywhere. One day when I got home from work, he had used loose leaf paper to draw cheesy photos of beachy things like palm trees, sun, and waves and put them up around the room in a panoramic beach scene. I should mention he is not much of an artist, so the drawings weren't boasting much in terms of realism, but that only made them better. He knew how badly I wanted to get away and knew we could not afford to go on our own, so he brought the beach to me. We had our beach getaway complete with picnic dinner right there on the living room floor on beach towels. It was adorable and cost him almost nothing. I was dating a girl and this commercial kept coming on TV. Warm fuzzy. Once he got me the biggest f-king bouquet of flowers that I have ever seen. It stood for almost a month and the flowers just kept bursting out. It was f-king amazing. I love him. The best gift I ever received was a heartfelt note from a boy who didn't have the means to give me anything else. For anyone reading that missing the common theme, the best gifts are generic, but based on things she likes or things that are important to her. Even if your girlfriend doesn't wear jewelry, finding a piece of jewelry that fits her personality is such a romantic gift. It's really not about the price of it or having genuine gold or diamonds. For that reason, avoid department stores and, instead, look online on some small jewelry websites, Etsy, or stores that also sell jewelry, Urban Outfitters, Nastigel, for stuff under $50 with elements she likes. For my birthday, my boyfriend got me this beautiful jade horn on a dainty gold-plated necklace chain, and it's the only jewelry I ever wear. Basically, we went on holiday, we're from the UK, last year to America, where he proposed, and whilst we were there, we had Five Guys burgers and decided they were the best burgers ever. Back in England, there are only a couple of Five Guys restaurants, all of them at least 3 hours from where we live. One morning, I was woken up by my boyfriend who was holding a brown paper bag. I looked inside and there it was. I was so overwhelmed I cried. His job means that he drives around a lot, so he decided to pop into a Five Guys and then bring the burger all the way back to me. It's not exactly hearts and flowers, but it's the little gestures of knowing what you like and makes you happy. Close bracket. TLDR. Got delivered a Five Guys burger. Cried. Flowers. Hand-picked flowers actually, cheaper as well lol. He showed up to my house to pick me up. And he had flowers. And he was apologizing because he said they weren't the best. And he was apologizing because he picked them from his garden instead of buying some from the store. And he was telling me how he found some Chanel string to tie them together with that he found lying around his house. And the fact that he took his own time to choose ones he'd think I'd like made it so much more special to me. The Chanel string just made it funnier. Definitely my favorite. Just wasn't expecting it. I have, although, received flowers from someone who was not my significant other. I was single. Not current, so barely knew him, and it was the creepiest thing I have ever experienced. Close bracket. Make her a pillow fort blanket cave cot, a place with some dim lighting, a movie, snacks or whatever you want. Read her a short story in there. Or just ask her to tell you about something you experienced together from her perspective. Don't do things like this on a birthday or anniversary. For maximum surprising romantic effect, do it on a regular Thursday. His mom had left him in the care of his grandma when he was like 9 to move out of the country, make money and send it back. He had only seen her again when he was 17, graduating from high school. So it was 10 years of only Skype calls here and then. I got her contact info and got her plane tickets to come visit him. We surprised him and he lost his shit. Cried for hours. Happiness. We're no longer together. But I'd like to think there isn't many things that can top that. Close bracket. The number one thing is always that one thing she mentioned in passing 6 months ago. Doesn't matter what it is. In fact, it's bonus points if it's insignificant, and SE never made a point of it. To show you listen and you planned this all along. Twist your brain for music they said they liked. And get concert tickets. Even better if it involves some travel and you can spring the event on them as a surprise. Or if she always burns her food. Get her a $5 timer. Stuff like that shows you know her. Care and listen to her needs. I've started to keep notes of these things. Makes gift shopping fun. Cheap and guarantees extra credits. I made my wife a silver necklace. One of the first presents I bought her. Back when we must have been 16 was a cheap little silver flower necklace. Our first flat together was a complete shithole and in the scummiest place in Manchester ever. We got burgled twice in the 12 months we lived there and one of the things they stole was this crappy little You Are Cute necklace. I searched for years to replace it. But I've never seen anything like it before. Eventually. I just thought FCK it. I can make this shit. I browsed the internet for ages and found some silver plate, wire and chain. Purchased a jeweler's saw and files and started hacking away at it. She liked it. One of my first Reddit posts. http imgur. My husband hunted down a rare copy of an out-of-print book that I had been looking for. Literally. Almost 5 years. He beat out others in an online auction for it. Quadrupling the already ridiculous price. He thought nothing of it because he knew it would make me happy. A couple of years or so ago I was whining to my boyfriend that I wish I had a PS3 so I could play the fourth God of War which was just coming out. A week later he came to my house and we were about to drive somewhere in his car when suddenly out of nowhere, or the backseat, he pulled out a gift wrapped box and told me to open it. It had 2 controllers in it. Then whoosh another box. Which I opened to find some games. Including God of War Ascension, the game I wanted. Then finally I'm holding some big box which again seemed to apparate onto my lap. Of course it had a PS3 in it. He did all this secretly for no reason but to make me happy. I think I actually cried because no one had ever done something so generous for me before just to see me smile. I've had 2 that really were just incredible. A few years ago I was in a long-term relationship that has since ended. But for one Valentine's Day I was sent on a scavenger hunt complete with little clues left at significant spots. The final clue took me to his work where he was waiting for me and we went on a sunset picnic in the park. Considering we were just out of high school. It was quite lovely to see that kind of effort. My current boyfriend and I had broken up briefly. And in an attempt to prove himself to me, he built me a backyard while I was out of town. I had been talking about trying to make some Pinterest Wi-Fi pit in my crappy backyard and even though I asked for his help, he never ended up doing anything. Until I went back home for a weekend. He picked me up from the airport. Brought me back to the house where there was new sod laid down. A pebble stone path. Brand new chairs. Lantern lights strung above. A new flower bush. And a brick fire pit dug into the ground. Hands down the most romantic thing anyone has even done for me. My roommates told me he spent 6 hours working on it. In the rain, and it was 10 times better than anything I had planned for it. Despite all the relationships I've had that have failed. It's nice to know I've dated some good ones who really cared about me. I know my comment is going to be buried here. But for our first Christmas together, my boyfriend handmade me something. We are both young college students. So neither one of us could afford anything big. He's an artist. So he painted me a pair of shoes so specific to my interests that I actually cried. You could see all the time he put into it. I love Disney. So he painted me a pair of shoes with Cinderella's castle, tangled scenes, and my favorite quote on the side. If you have an amazing talent, don't buy her something. Make something. It'll mean way more than you'll ever know. Also, on our first Valentine's, he wrote me open when letters. I was going through a very tough time and having letters handwritten by him for moments ranging from open when you're missing me, to open when you need to hear a funny joke. Really helped me. Anyways. Good luck OP. Or. It's hard to say. My so wasn't a big gift giver in the beginning, but has become more and more used to giving me small things. He's gotten me anything from a giant 32-inch purple alpaca to my favorite flower. Orchids. I have to say though, probably the best gift he's ever gotten me, or at least the one that sticks out in my mind the most, was a thing of nuggets and a Frosty from Wendy's. I work retail and it was a horrible day. Busy. Rude customers. No time to just sit and breathe. I was feeling a bit sick and headachy, and to top it all off I forgot my lunch at home. So I had nothing to eat during an 8-hour shift. I was texting my boyfriend my woes during the day. Him just sympathizing but not saying much else. Then around 12 o'clock, the door dinged and I turned around to greet the customer, only to be met with my boyfriend holding a sack of Wendy's and a chocolate Frosty for me. I was so touched. Point is, it doesn't have to be this big extravagant gift. Just go with something thoughtful. As cliche as it is. This is strange, but my fiance took me out to find my grandfather's difficult to find grave. It meant so much to me to talk to my GPA and tell him about his grandkids. Close bracket. I'm not a girl, but I gave my now wife a very simple, inexpensive gift that went over incredibly well with her and her friends. A little moleskin notebook. On the first page I wrote her a note telling her that the book was a place for her to write down all of our dreams and plans, things we wanted to do, places we wanted to go, meals we wanted to eat, etc. 2 years later she still carries the notebook in her purse and crosses out things as we do them and adds new ideas as we come up with them. Cost me like $12 and she still loves it.